Happy Devil's Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address. 5 minutes late. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Pucks and Pitchforks blog editor-in-chief, Nick Villano, streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. As this is Mack Black's team, as the title says. Welcome, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Of course, we love to be transparent with our fans, Nick, because, hey, we were 5 minutes late. Whenever we give you the news, we are the first to verify and break it. The theme of the day.
Is that it? There was a lot of people. There was a lot of Twitter sleuths. Lots of Twitter sleuths breaking news over the week. So, there was a lot of news breaking. Nico's broken foot looks pretty good, huh?
Yeah, you know what? Rumor has it that he does have an actual broken ankle, broken foot, but he's so strong that it's just a bad bruise to him.
Oh, he's John Tortorella's on the phone right now. He heard that Nico's playing on a broken foot. He's trying to get this job.
John Tortorella's like, Nico, you know what I'm going to tell you when I coach this team. Did you hear that rumor? No, I'm just kidding around. We're just joking around, folks. Just jokes, sarcasm. We saw a lot of stuff yesterday. Glad it's all okay, because it's only official when Sam Kassan and Amanda Stein or Chris Westcott, when they tweet it out, that's when you know it's real.
I mean, the team's going to tweet it out before any of them, but, they want everything to filter through the team account, and that's fine. Yeah, I mean, listen, I know a lot of people are saying this just shows how much – the Devils need a beat reporter, and great. But, I don't know how much inside info the guy at the Star Ledger was getting anyway. You know what I mean? Like, when we love those guys, but they were great at formulating a story based on press conferences and things like that. And I just don't know how much inside info you're getting on that job without, people are mad because Elliot Friedman breaks more news, but Elliot Friedman breaks news for every team.
Yeah.
And he usually is the first one on it. Him and Bobby Margarita and the like. So it's like, Chris Johnson, like this isn't different for the Maple Leafs and the Chicago Blackhawks. So, it is what it is. I didn't hear it from any of them. I had people in my DMs and my Twitter mentions and stuff like that telling me what was happening, and I played along with it because I thought it was like, well, this is more than one person is telling me this now. At least three people told me that he had a broken foot. Vinny said that he hurt his ankle. So I tweeted out Vinny's stuff. Who knows what it was? It's a lower body injury for all we know, and Nico's skating today. And
yeah.
Did they already say he's going to play tomorrow? I forget.
Lindy Ruff in the presser said that he's going to try to give it a go, depending upon his pain threshold. I'm not quoting him. I'm just summarizing what he said. So basically, it's a game time decision as far as I'm concerned, based on what I read on NHL.com. But but Jimmy Vesey's back, right? Uh-huh. And Steve Tardas, he has a comment in the Facebook Live. I wish I'd talked to you before off air, but he says no one wants to pay for a Devils a beat reporter. I've seen that a lot on Twitter, on Facebook.
I'm sorry, but Pucks and Pitchforks was the 7th highest viewed blog among NHL teams for on the network. So there's an audience. and I'm not like, this isn't like, I guess it's kind of a humble brag. I really appreciate you guys. 2.9 million views last year. So big year for us. Really excited. But to sit here and say I got 3 million views with my team, how are you going to sit here and say a legitimate newspaper isn't going to be able to get something like that? You know what I mean? So like, uh, you don't even have to go to away games if that's the deal. Like, so you don't get road trips and things like that. Like, that would stink, but like, whatever. Have them just go to home games. That's what Dan Rice does, and Dan Rice does a great job covering the games for us. So, it's, I don't know what to tell you. I know Dan Rice isn't a newsbreaker himself either. This isn't his number one job. He has another job, and I understand the frustration in that. But we do have people who cover the games. We do have people to ask them questions, and sometimes they hold them over the fire. Sometimes they don't. You can't hold them over the fire every single game because then they'll just stop answering your questions. Then you just become Steve Simmons, and everybody hates that guy. Like, everybody wants Steve Simmons until they get Steve Simmons, and then they're like, oh, we don't want this. Well, you got him. Yeah. You asked for this. This is what you got. So, the whole beat reporter thing, it does stink. I hate that we get no coverage. I hate that The Athletic took our coverage from somebody who has to focus on, Shane is somebody who we're going to get on the podcast soon. Spoiler alert. Locking down the date with her. But she has to cover all of the teams.
Yeah.
She's focused on the Devils and the Rangers. So not only is her focus is on this split, and then on top of that, she had to write an article today about the league in general because she works for statistics for The Athletic. I have the people who are yelling and screaming about who our beat reporters are, or whatever you want to call them, who the coverage of the Devils are. That's where I haven't had to deal with bosses or had to you get a job and there's extra layers to the job. Like, yeah, I guess everybody here is just they interviewed to be a microbiologist and they get to do the one specific thing they want to do. I don't know what it is, but it's I think the beat reporter thing, it is what it is. But just because we don't have beat reporters, I understand that in this era of social media and stuff like that, I know we're starved for information. I get it, but don't run with everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't run with everything.
Yeah.
And, and that includes me, because I assumed that it was the worst when I wrote the article. I wrote an article about the day. The day still sucked. It sucked to have everybody think that we lost Nico Hischier for an extended period of time. And a broken foot is bad. Because that, lingers. It's not like that just goes away.
Yeah.
So, you never want a guy with foot injuries. So the fact that it looks like it's just a bruise and he's back on the ice, let's celebrate that. Let's not get mad about the beat reporter situation. Let's learn our lessons from the people we're getting breaking news from. Don't get it from Reddit. Don't get it from, non-sources. I don't break news, Sam. There's a reason for that. Because you shouldn't listen to me. You should listen to my opinions and think of them as opinions. You should go back and forth with me on my opinions because they are opinions. I am not a news guy. You want to know why I'm not a news guy, Sam? Because I'm literally a news guy in my day job. I have no interest in being a news guy in my night job. So
I gotta tell you a secret, Nick, and I talked about it somewhat on the Woo Report. During the breaking news, an hour after it was announced about Dougie Hamilton, we have a lot of regulars, great fans, commenting in the Facebook Live. And I was pissed, not at them. I want to make the point out. I was not pissed at them, but the people that I thought were putting rumors out there, unfounded, saying that they have sources. And I'm not talking about reporters. I'm talking about fans. Mm-hmm. And I felt it was my duty because I do not break news either. I may be the first to verify, but I don't want to be the one breaking it. There's a lot of information that goes behind the scenes with pucksandpitchforks.com, Vinny, myself, you, others, Dan Rice, all that. But a lot of us, sometimes I take it for a grain of salt. I don't even bother letting you know if I hear something or whatever. But I felt compelled to get Chico on yesterday, Chico Resch, because I knew he would give us the clear answer, because I don't like to see our fans being misled and their hearts broken for about 6 hours, not knowing if their captain is out 8 to 10 weeks. I almost took offense to that, because if you don't know, why are you putting that on the internet? And I'm not pointing fingers, because I don't know who the true source was of that.
Yeah, we can't point fingers because
because
it was a lot of people.
Yeah, let's put it that way. And I felt compelled, and I don't want to even get into that business. I'm just like you. I just like to sit back, put my feet up, and comment and talk to you folks about it. But I made sure that I said, okay, we have Game Day Live. Let's get Chico on and clean this up once and for all. Chico came on. He said his piece. He's in, works with the team. Chico is one of the most honest people, nicest people, but honest people. And he's very transparent. And that's what we did for you. We went straight to the horse's mouth. And if the horse's mouth didn't know, Chico would have told you if he had no idea. And he basically said, going back to New Jersey to check it out, whether it's a bad bruise or it could be something more. That's all we knew at that point. How would all these people know this stuff? There's HIPAA laws. There's a lot of things that goes on. And, trust who you want to trust. I'm not telling you we're the number one people that do it. But I can guarantee you we have a promise that we will do our best to have the most accurate information. And we don't strive to be the first. We strive to make sure that it's right. At least the first to get it right. Right? So, I don't want to be Elliot Friedman. Oh, my goodness. You know how much work that is?
Oh, my God. Dana, his poor wife. Like, for real.
I know.
Imagine being the spouse of somebody like that. Like, the amount of work that it takes. And Sam, you and me both work really hard. Like, again, I keep sounding like I'm patting myself on the back. But we both have...
Oh, no, why don't you do that? Because I know a lot of people do that on Twitter. Why don't you pat yourself on the back?
No,
Nick? You did a great job.
We both work day and night. Like, we work most of the hours of the day that we're awake, we are working. There are days where I shorten my sleep schedule to get extra work in. So I understand, but a lot of my work, I have the option of moving. I can kind of play Tetris with my schedule. A guy like Elliot and Adam Schefter and Waj, they don't have that option. They got people texting and calling them at some hour of the night. And guess what? If somebody calls him at 3 a.m., he has to wake up. He has to put something together, and that's the life that he lives. And Emily Kaplan is becoming a bigger name in this, and I know a couple other people that are getting bigger in the sense of the hockey world, and especially when you're think about somebody like Emily Kaplan, friend of the podcast. Which makes it even crazier that she agrees to do a podcast for us, is that she's trying to break into this field in a company that just got the rights back. She's also doing the pre- and post-game show for ESPN. She's also writing articles for ESPN. She's also doing podcasts for ESPN. She's also working with Greg Wyshynski on feature articles. And she's new, so she's trying to establish a name so she can't mess up. And I won't even get into the women aspect of it, but that is definitely real, is that it's harder for women to break into this industry and gain respect. But I think Kaplan has gained and earned the respect. But again, there's pressure in that you can't be wrong. You can't.
You can't have an off day. You can't have an off day, especially in that business. People don't know. I know this is Mack Boxing, that's the title, but we want to give kind of the behind the scenes look. Emily Kaplan, we had her on that one time. A, I didn't know that she was from Jersey. That's awesome. B, she likes bagels. She didn't want to get in the Taylor Ham pork roll debate. I respect that. But I'm seeing her everywhere with ESPN. And I find her that she's one of our own, Jersey's own, from Montclair. Look her up. Smart person. And I think that's really cool. Who would have ever thought, someone from Montclair making it to ESPN.com. And then, you know what? Her hard work's paying off because now ESPN, has the rights and they're doing hockey finally. They should have done that a long time ago. And she's on the forefront of that. And, anyway, long story short, Nick, with all this, there's plenty of alternatives. I know that everyone likes the legacy news media companies like the old ESPN. Now it's new ESPN. You're talking about, the old newspapers, Star Ledger, Bergen Record. Well, it's 2021 right now. Media is fragmented. You can consume it through pucksandpitchforks.com. You can consume it on other blogging sites.
Yeah.
2.3 or 2.9, that's a lot of people. What about this podcast? Another medium. Nearly 250,000 downloads. And started by 3 Devils fans pretty much at a bar. So things can happen, but
Media's
the fact
weird
of the
now.
matter is, we have you right now. This is what we have. Enjoy what you have. I mean, it was a little disheartening when I was on NorthJersey.com, and the last time it was updated was December 19th or December 20th. And I was a little surprised, taken back, because I'm looking up stuff. I was actually looking at the NorthJersey.com to see if Nico was out 8 to 10 weeks, and I realized, oh, crap, there's nothing there. I forgot.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong place.
I thought maybe Robert Aiken Jr. was doing Fire and Ice blog or whatever. I wasn't really paying attention but I thought to go, and and then I was like, oh, okay, well, I better start talking to people because that was a wild rumor, and I'm like, how do these people really know? I mean, you're talking medical information. I like to think that HIPAA laws still apply.
I mean, it depends on who gives you the information. HIPAA laws only apply to doctors and nurses and medical professionals. So, say the team tells, or say the doctor tells the team, and Nico gives the team permission to know. The team is not obliged under HIPAA to keep that information private. The team could, it's the same thing with this COVID stuff. That's why the players aren't allowed to disclose when they, whether or not the team says if they have COVID or not. They don't have those rights because HIPAA law does not protect them from their employer. HIPAA law only protects them from their doctor or their nurse, a lab technician, those.
So what happened? What happened to wasn't there a football player that had surgery about 5-10 years ago? Was it Peyton Manning? I forgot who. And a reporter, I forgot who, I don't know if it was Adam Schechter, that took a picture of a chart that was hanging in the hospital, and that was his source, that what the surgery was, or I forgot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of well, the problem is the person who probably gave him that picture violated HIPAA.
Yeah.
So the only people who have access to the chart are supposed to be doctors and nurses. So I'm assuming it's a nurse who wants to be famous for a second and got a little in over their head and sent the picture. That violates HIPAA. Anyway, we're going way down a wormhole of things that have nothing to do with what we're talking about. Yep. Let's get to Devils hockey. Let's talk about what we saw on the ice. What makes me really upset, Sam, is the Devils are playing okay. Like, the forwards and defensemen are all right. Blackwood, 3 of the goals that Blackwood let up on Tuesday were just atrocious. Like, not even close. Like basement level danger chances. Not even low, basement level danger chances. Like throwing the puck willy nilly at the goalie with 40 seconds left and it goes in, or they played that 2-on-1. I know Holtz made a mistake and he coughed up the puck, but they played that 2-on-1 stupendously. And I don't remember if it was Graves or Severson or which defenseman was, but he was right there on the second guy. So Lazard just basically threw it at the puck and prayed for a juicy rebound. And it just went under Blackwood. Like, I don't know if he thought it was a pass and then tried to react to it and it went under him. That was bad. Then the guy, I think it was Frederick, threw it from behind the net and banked it in Blackwood. Like, it's one thing to do that from the really tight angle and the guy's not looking. It's another thing when the puck is in the corner and Blackwood is on the post, and he gave them room on the post. So those three were absolutely I'm
It almost looked
flabbergasted.
like they were lazy plays. I think he's still hurt. And I'm not making excuses for Mack Black.
And I'm gonna ask an expert who's coming on tonight. That's why I wanted a goalie expert. So that's why we got one tonight. I wanted somebody to tell me about goalies, because that's what's going to make or break this season. Is Mackenzie Blackwood. Mackenzie Blackwood is going to make or break this season, and it's something I wrote about. It's on pucksandpitchforks.com. Ironically, it's also on NewJerseyDevils.com, but we won't talk about that. It was an obvious story. I'm just kidding. But
let's not go there about plagiarism.
Listen, I'm just saying I did write it first. But he is going to make or break the season. It's him. Bernier's done. I don't think they're going to trade a lot of goalies this year. And you have Bernier for another year on the contract. What are you paying? Like 4.125, I think is the price.
Yeah,
a lot for a goalie when you're already paying another one 3.5. I don't know, but here's the other thing, Sam. If he is hurt and he's playing like this because he's hurt, is there a point in playing him? He's not good right now. His stats are one of the worst goalies in the league. His save percentage is under 900. His goals saved above average is, I think, 4th or 5th worst in the league. Like, we're talking, like, the only person who's worse, and this guy's a lot worse to be fair, but like Philip Grubauer and Scott Wedgwood are like the two names that I remember that are worse than him. So I think he's 4th worst in the league when it comes to like goalies who have played a significant amount of time. So you're sitting here, and then that's the thing, is you signed Scott Wedgwood to be like insurance in case something happened, and then somebody took him from you. And then they added taxi squads later, and then he's not even playing that well. So it's like, you want to be like, look what happened. Oh, woe is me. It's like, yeah, but he's not good either. It's like, well, so you came up with a backup plan. The backup plan failed. Like, I've never seen Sam, and maybe because we never paid attention to this because we had Martin Brodeur, but I'd never seen a backup goalie situation go so terribly.
Yeah. You know what? We've been so spoiled at the goaltending position for so long. I think a lot of us are rooting for Mack Black to snap out of it, but now there are a lot of doubters. I put that in the Facebook group, Let's Go Devils, and I said, how you feel about Mack Black? And a lot of negative posts. I don't think he has the stamina to go for 82 games schedule, because right now he's playing a lot of games. I think he's playing hurt. I think that's part of the problem. Some of the things that, goals he's given up, a lot of them are correctable. And it just seems looks like he's very uncomfortable going side to side right now, post to post. And it just seems like, I don't know.
I'm not really seeing that. I feel
You're
like
not
post to
seeing that?
post he's fine. No, I feel like post to post is fine. I feel like it's when he has time, he's making mistakes.
You got to go. You got to look at some of that film, Nick. He doesn't look comfortable going side to side, post to post.
Maybe you're right.
Take
But I
a
think
look
it's
at
a
some of those
confidence
goals
thing.
that he, gave up. I mean, if you, we talked about it yesterday on Devils After Dark. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to take a look and see. It seems like when he's shifting, and I wish we had Shorts guy on because I have to ask him these questions. It seems like when he's hugging that post, he doesn't. It doesn't seem like his skates are really. It looks weak almost. Like he's
Okay.
just barely, And then a couple times he knocked the net off. I don't know if that was done on
Yeah.
purpose or he just didn't have enough strength to stop his slide. I don't know. You have to just start looking for that. I could be wrong, but but he's obviously trying to battle through this. He knows what he needs to do. I'm just surprised that they're just getting a lot by him, especially against the Bruins. Some parts of the season, and it wasn't even his fault, but right now he's got to step up. He is the guy. I think he's always been the guy. Just right now, I think why the Devils put out that he's the guy right now is because right now there's no choice that he's the guy. But I think he's been the guy the entire time because with Corey Crawford and Jonathan Bernier out, he's been the guy since last season until he went out with COVID, So, wow, some of these comments in. They're done with Mack Black.
That's silly. To be done is silly. Don't be done. He's injured. And I think his injury is impacting his confidence. I want to get to the bottom of what's wrong. There are some people who think that Mack Black is a never was. He never was good. He had a stretch that was fine. Likening him to his name's escaping me. Who's the guy that came in for Brodeur that one year and just dominated when Kevin Weeks had a rough run?
Scott Clemenson?
Yeah. They're like equating him to Scott Clemenson. Like he had a run one year and it was great, but who cares? Mack Black was a second-round pick for a reason. He was the best North American goalie in his draft class for a reason. He has the skill, the athleticism. He has amazing athleticism. Maybe outside of Vasilevsky, he's one of the most athletic goalies in the league. But there's something off. And maybe that's why you're seeing the side-to-side thing and I'm not as much, because I'm looking at his confidence level. And that could impact his side-to-side. Maybe he's tentative to jump to one side, or what I think maybe you're looking at is maybe he's always ready to go to the other side. Like what on that Travis Frederick goal where he threw it from the corner and it bounced off of him. Maybe he was ready to jump to the front of the net before he should have been preparing for that. Maybe he's always preparing for the next move and the move after because there's been so many 2-on-1s and there's been so many breakaways and things like that he's always preparing for it and he's letting up easy goals because of it. And I was on Vinny Parisi's podcast earlier today and they were talking about how after they scored that first goal, you could see the Bruins strategy changing. Now it was get pucks to the net. Doesn't matter doesn't matter if you need a great shot or not. Just get them to the net. And they will likely eventually go in. And it worked. They eventually went in. They only the Oscar Steen goal was a fluke and probably should be against the rules. Like I don't think we want people swinging their sticks at goalies' heads, but it's not a rule yet, so it counts. That was a fluke goal. The other goal's escaping me, but from what I remember, it was like a legitimate goal. I think it was it a tip? The third goal is escaping me. But anyway, it was a legitimate goal. It wasn't like Mackenzie Blackwood didn't make a mistake. It just, those goals go in sometimes. But when you look at the 3 goals that really decided the game, you're looking at goals that even an injured goalie, if he just didn't move, he'd save them. He literally put himself in position to not save them. So I think it's in his head. I think that it's something that he has to just work through. But here's the thing that stinks, Sam. This is what we've been negative a lot on this podcast this season, and it's mostly because of timing. Because I feel like we win 3 games in a row, and then by the time we get to the podcast time, it's time for us to lose a game. Lose our top defenseman. We haven't even talked about Dougie Hamilton being out for a few weeks with the broken jaw. And then
is it a few weeks? Do you know the timeline on that?
Wasn't Nico out 6?
Oh,
was Nico out with it? Let me double check that, but
I would like to say 6 to 8 weeks.
I don't think it'll be 8. But I don't know.
That's a big loss. I mean, maybe the Devils will get him back just, after I guess there's no Olympic break, but I don't know. End of February at the earliest.
Yeah. His was a little different because he had a concussion and a sinus fracture.
Yeah.
So a broken jaw is different.
Yeah.
Listen, I think you could. I would hope he's back beginning of February. And the Devils just had 2 games postponed this month, and they have to make up all those games from December. If he's here for when it starts to get, when the schedule starts to get messy, we'll say, and I think that's going to start in February, I think we'll be fine. And when I say fine, I mean, what are we even playing for at this point, Sam? Boston is rolling. We have so many more games on everybody else. We have 6 games on the Islanders. The schedule's just been wicked weird, and the playoffs is pretty bleak for us.
Yeah. Well, Nick, I'm going to get our next guest. I know social media is just humming because I know Ian Smith is going crazy on the YouTube Live. I haven't even checked the Facebook Live. I know Craig Best and Omar and Michael Hay, Corbin, Matt Junio, they're all chiming in. So let me get our next guest. Why don't you talk to social media?
All right, I will talk to social media. What's going on, guys? Omar says we badly miss a right top 6 power forward. I mean, there's only 3 of them that really exist in the league that have those qualifications. You're looking for a Tom Wilson, and there's one of him. So I don't know if that's the that's the fix. I would love one. I would love a guy who can hit. I would love if Nathan Bastian just became a 30-goal scorer. That would be wonderful. That's what most of them are. Most of them are Nathan Bastians, and we got a pretty good one. We got him for free because Seattle just didn't know how to use them. We knew how to use them, so I'm very happy that we got the Nathan Bastian acquisition. He is bringing a lot of, Phil Kessel is not a power forward. Come on, Omar. Phil Kessel? Did you call Phil Kessel a power forward? Come on, get out of here. I would love Phil Kessel. I'll take Phil Kessel on the team, but I don't think that they're going to trade for Kessel now. He's on, he's going to a contender of some kind. They will not take an old and recovering burden. Oh, okay, so they're talking about trades. Montreal. What is this trade you guys are talking about? There's so many. I can't even find it. Y'all are talking about a trade with Montreal. I see you guys were talking about Hudobin. Hudobin's been bad this year, and he has another year left on his contract, so that would put them in a real bind if they took Hudobin this year. The Devils give Gritzik on ELC. Does he have to stay in the KHL until his contract there expires? There's weird things. I don't know why you wouldn't want him to stay in the KHL. He's not going to make the NHL. I know we get all excited about prospects. Gritsik is not ready for the NHL yet. He still needs seasoning, and might as well do it to the KHL where he's gaining confidence. Price wants out of Montreal. I don't know that. I just know that he's dealing with some mental health issues. So I don't want Price. Price is making $10 million a year. There's no way I want to bail Montreal out of that contract. Sam, you're back.
I'm back with our goalie expert. His name is Michael Amato from goaliepost.com. You can find him on Twitter at Amato_Mike. Michael, you're on with Sam with Nick. How are you tonight?
Doing well, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for coming on, Michael. I appreciate you. Like I said, I needed to get a goalie expert. I was asking around, who's a goalie expert? I had multiple people point me in your direction. I've been to goaliepost.com. I just didn't know that you were the voice behind it. So I'm so happy to have you on, Michael.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, hopefully I didn't set the bar too high for you there.
That's okay. We'll do a couple pull-ups and get on your level. No worries. So I have to talk. I had to get right into it. First of all, I'm going off script right off the bat, and I'm sorry about this, but I have to ask because the Facebook commenters are talking about Carey Price, and I'm appalled. Should I be appalled at the thought of trying to acquire Carey Price?
At the Devils, sorry?
Yeah. For the New Jersey, the Devils fans in the comment section, a couple of them are saying they want Carey Price, and I do not want that contract or the end of his career. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think you want Carey Price, but you probably don't want his contract. I mean, it's the simplest way to sum it up. Like, I think he still has a lot to offer, but yeah, that contract's going to be tough to handle for most teams. And yeah, I mean, the Devils are like a young, sort of up-and-coming team. I don't know if they want that cap hit kind of weighing them down a bit, maybe preventing them from doing some other things that are going to make their team better going forward.
All right, so let's get back to the script, Michael. Mackenzie Blackwood. I don't even know how else to ask this question besides saying, what the heck? What the heck, Mackenzie Blackwood?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like we just expected so much more from him. Like, he's still a really young goalie, but it's just been a tough year. I think with everything going on around the entire league right now with COVID and game postponements, it's so hard to evaluate any players. And I think like goalies at the best of times are hard to evaluate. And right now, I think as we've seen sort of coming out of the holiday break, there's been so many goals scored. I think it's just because there's so many like regular players out of the lineup, and teams are just kind of struggling to find some cohesiveness. But yeah, it's been kind of like a little bit of a disappointing year for Blackwood. I think given the way his first 2 years of his career went, I think he started out really, really strong, and I think this year's numbers just haven't been on par with those, not even close. And I think there's probably a few reasons for that. I mean, number one, the Devils, I think, have dealt with a bunch of injuries. Obviously, they had a lot of COVID issues themselves, like most teams around the league. But we're kind of looking a little bit deeper into it today. And one thing I noticed is that New Jersey's high danger goals allowed and their high danger save percentage is the worst in the league. And that's a definite drop from years past. So I think Blackwood is probably giving you like an extra save or two when, he probably shouldn't have been in the past. Like, he's probably preventing a lot more goals, last year by sort of stealing a save in a high danger area that he's just not doing this year. And yeah, it might just simply be, just part of his growth. And I think he's still only about just north of 100 games in the NHL. So he's still got a lot of time to go. But yeah, I can understand sort of the impatience in that market for sure.
It's actually funny you brought that up because I wrote an article yesterday about Blackwood, and I was just curious, so I looked at it, and ironically, him and Andrei Vasilevsky have given up the most high-danger goals before yesterday. This is before yesterday's games. But Vasilevsky did it on, like, 40 less high-danger chances, so it was like, that's not great for us.
Yeah, I know that aren't bad in that department. Like, I think they're they're still like in the bottom half of the league, but I think they're, a little bit better than some teams that are allowing high danger opportunities. So yeah, the fact that giving up so many more goals in that area than last year is probably like one of the reasons you're seeing his numbers dip a little bit.
So just looking at kind of the kinds of goals that Blackwood is allowing, he is allowing too many of the high danger quality chances. You do need him to make that save, but he's also making a couple just like, I don't want to say boneheaded plays because I'm not out there, but he's made mistakes, like clear mental mistakes. The coaching staff keeps bringing up his heel injury, saying he's still dealing with that. Do you think that him having the injury can mess with the mental part of his game?
It's possible. I think like that also ties to, potentially not getting enough practice time. And with the way his schedule is this year and the way it was last year, I think a lot of teams, they just don't practice as often as they did, and they don't get as many reps. And sometimes that can maybe hurt a young goalie if they don't get that work in. And I imagine we'll be seeing more of the same as the season goes on, with a lot of these games that are going to have to be made up in the second half of the year. I think they're not going to just get that practice time again. A goaltender or any player for that matter, just, not being as mentally sharp. And one of the other things, though, I think that's interesting with Blackwood. I know it feels like the Devils the last couple of years have tried to bring in guys to push him a little bit, whether it was like Corey Crawford or Jonathan Bernier, and kind of just circumstances that they've just been lost for the season. Like Crawford retired, obviously, and Bernier's done for the year now. So it would have been interesting to see if they could have pushed him a bit and maybe created some competition. I think mental sharpness, just sort of keeping a young goalie a little bit focused. I think maybe it's sort of creeping into his mind that there's really no one there to push him right now. He thinks he just the net is his, and maybe it's just a little sort of lack of focus or sharpness that you might get when you have a little bit of a quality, more experienced partner pushing you.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that he was better earlier in the season when Bernier was there. But now to the crux of it. After seeing what you've seen, we've had 4 years of tape on Blackwood. We got years of seeing his skills in other leagues, AHL and other places. Is this guy, does he have the capability of being a number one on a contender? Let's say a top 15 goalie in this league.
I think you can't say no. Like I would say yes. Like if you look at his first 2 years, I think he had like a 918 save and a 915 save. Like that's pretty good. And those Devils teams weren't great. So like I think that shows he's got a lot of ability. And as I mentioned before, he's only played like I think it's 125 games, right? Like it's so tough to gauge a goalie. Like I'm in Toronto, Jack Campbell, who basically a career backup, and now he's all of a sudden like a Vezina candidate, for a great team over the last 2 seasons. So it's really hard to rule goalies out, who it is, even though I think he's about 25 years old. But, the goalies, I think, really peak later, and, it doesn't always sort of go linear in their growth. They can go up and down a lot, and, sometimes they can catch lightning in a bottle. And I think for Blackwood, I think more with goalies now, it's sort of like the situation that they're in really pushes them. And I think as the Devils grow as a team, and I think we're seeing them take steps, with Jack Hughes and, Jesper Bratt playing really great this year. Maybe as that team grows, I think, he's more than capable of kind of shouldering the load on a good team. So he doesn't always need like an Andre Vasilevsky to carry. He's sort of, somebody that's not going to allow any bad goals and just give you a chance to win every night. And if you have a really strong team in front of you, I think he's capable of carrying.
Yeah. Jack Campbell's a really good point. That's not somebody I really thought of to compare to. So, I'm actually going to look into that because that's definitely interesting.
Yeah. I think the point more like.
Oh no, you go ahead.
No, so I was just going to say, like Jack Campbell, I think is probably about 4 or 5 years older than Blackwood, and I'm sure he was tapped off, many times, right? And so that's why I think even if you have doubts about Blackwood, it's probably too early to just sort of cast him off.
So, you do work for Dobber Prospects. We've had a couple people from Dobber on the show to talk about prospects. So I would be remiss to not bring up the Devils prospects to think, do they have something in somebody? I personally like Nico Dawes, but he keeps getting injured, so that's concerning. Is there anybody in the prospect pool? Nico Dawes, Kira Schmid, Cole Brady. They took the guy who was playing in World Juniors this year. Is there any, or Jacob Malik? Is there anybody who's maybe has at least the talent level to maybe, be a surprise number one someday?
Yeah, I think sort of, as I mentioned earlier, it's super hard to evaluate any goalie that young. Like, I don't know if there's anybody, and I wouldn't say I'm necessarily like an expert at double goalie prospects, but I wouldn't say there's anybody there right now that, is sort of in the top tier goaltending prospect. I'm interesting you mentioned Nico Dawes, because that's the guy I had circled too. I saw him play a little bit in the World Juniors a couple of years ago. I know his numbers have been, really good in a small sample size this year. So I think that's the guy that, potentially could be a goaltender someday, and for the Devils and then at the NHL level. So yeah, and I think if you look at New Jersey, they've had trouble with, like I mentioned, Crawford and Bernie before, kind of keeping backups or 1Bs kind of in the lineup. So there's definitely an opportunity there, and someone can certainly seize that this year with some extra playing time. But yeah, I think Dawes would be a guy to maybe circle that has some potential, but it's really tough until like a goalie gets to sort of their mid-20s to really evaluate them, right? Like it's so much different than a skater. Like their growth is so like non-linear. There's a lot of ups, a lot of downs, and a lot of times we see like, Jordan Binnington's come out of nowhere, and then they have this great run, and then all of a sudden it's like, now he's regressing a little bit, and maybe he's not, that elite goaltender. It's just really tough to pin down. But yeah, I think Dawes is the guy that if I was a Devils fan, I'd be pretty excited about seeing what the future holds for him.
Well, Michael, before I let you go, I do want to give you ample chance to kind of promote what you're doing. Tell us what you're doing at Dauber. Tell us what you're doing at goaliepost.com. Where can people find your work?
Yeah, so I write a couple of columns each week on goaliepost.com, and just sort of like waiver wire targets and a lot of just goaltending news around the league, regarding fantasy hockey. And really, the Goalie Post tool it's a fantasy hockey tool that sort of alerts you to the starting goalies for the teams around the league. So whoever your goalies are on your fantasy team, you can subscribe, so you'll know sort of the starting goalies for that team each night. So if you have Mackenzie Blackwood, if he is starting that night, you can plug him in your lineup, or if he's not, if you have to make an adjustment, or you can, sign up for your opponent's teams as well to get those alerts, so you can just sort of stay in the loop. So it just kind of keeps you up to date on who's starting, and I think nowadays with all the postponements and stuff, it's really good just because there's so much, turnover and different goalies starting each night. It's good to sort of keep track of it, and it's a really great tool to do that. And plus, we sort of give a lot of fantasy hockey advice on our Twitter accounts, my personal account and the Goalie Post account as well.
Well, before I let you go, Mike, is there a sleeper fantasy guy? Since the Devils fans don't have much regular hockey to cheer for, is there a fantasy guy you like for the second half?
One guy I kind of like is Kaapo Kähkönen for the Wild. I think like he had a good little run last year, over 10 games when Talbot was hurt, and now Talbot's hurt again, and Talbot hasn't really played all that well this year. He's given up a bunch of goals lately, a bunch of games where he's given up like 4 goals, 5 goals. So I think the door is open there. The Wild haven't played well lately, so if Kähkönen can come in and win a few in a row, maybe he has a chance to, steal a lot more starts and potentially even the job if it goes really well. So that's a guy I might look to.
There you go. Kaapo Kähkönen, for all you fantasy players out there. Michael Amato, goaliepost.com, Dauber Hockey. Go to him with your fantasy needs, with your goalie needs. Michael, thanks so much for spending some time with us tonight.
Thanks for having me anytime.
Thank you. That is Michael Amato, goalie expert, goaliepost.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Amato_Mike. Well, I got a lot of nuggets out of that interview, Nick. A lot of nuggets. Lot
I
of
told you I
Nuggets.
needed a goalie expert. I needed somebody who knew goalies, and I got somebody who knew goalies.
So all
I
you
don't know
Carey
goalies
Price
that well.
fans out there, Devils fans that want Carey Price, you don't want his contract. You don't want
I don't
his
know why.
contract.
Like, why are you getting a guy? Carey Price has dealt with injuries. He's how old is Carey Price? Hold on.
I think he's 35 now, isn't he?
I don't think he's that old, but he's 34. You don't want Carey Price.
Yeah.
You don't want Carey Price. We're not contenders right now. Why would you get guys? Ugh, they're giving me a headache.
I'm sure Montreal would love to make a trade.
They would trade him for Subban right now. give him the PK Subban revival tour. You know what I mean? Like they would trade Carey Price right now just to get. They know that contract's scary.
Yeah.
Is he getting paid this year? I don't know how that works.
I don't know. I would assume so, but I don't know.
I would assume, but I don't know how they.
Does it come? I don't know. That's all in the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, maybe there's like a what's it called, long-term disability thing or in there, like I have in my contract. All right. Well, see, it was a weird night tonight, Sam, because we're at the end of the podcast. We're at the interview. We had the rare 9:10 p.m. interview.
Yeah. Well, we talked a lot today. We talked a lot about Mack Black. We talked a lot about rumors. We talked about Emily Kaplan. We talked about
HIPAA.
More about Mack Black. What's that?
We talked about HIPAA.
Oh yeah, we talked about HIPAA. But you never know what we're going to talk about on the State of the Fan address.
But I'll plug a couple things. Like I said, I was on the Barroom podcast with Vinny Parisi today. So go check that out. That's on Vinny Parisi's Twitter feed. Like I said, I wrote.
I'm jealous. I haven't been invited on.
Oh, I'm sorry. You gotta beg.
Yeah, I'm gonna beg Vinny Parisi on Game Day Live tomorrow before the Devils take on the BJs, the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Just make them feel bad right on air. Just be like, so Vinny, I heard you had Nick on the bar room.
Yeah, I heard you had a hockey podcast, and I saw it on Twitter, on your Twitter feed at Vinny Parisi, and meow meow, you didn't invite your friend.
But we have a couple things on Pucks and Pitchforks. We have that Blackwood piece that I told you about. I have 5 goals the Devils should have for 2022. Oh, look, there's a Sam Wu piece here. Nico Hischier proven to be captain.
Oh, my goodness.
We got a Sam Wu piece. We have a couple Sam Wu pieces up. Sam's been in a right mood. He's talked about New Year's resolutions. He's talked about Tom Fitzgerald. I've talked about Elaine Nasruddin's performance while Lindy Ruff was out. We got a couple things. Vinny talked about Jack and Nico and their big weekend. So we got plenty of stuff to talk about, or that's on Pucks and Pitchforks. I don't think we're going to have something tomorrow morning, Sam, just because I need to do a bunch of other things for my other fan-sided blogs. But, my wife is getting her wisdom teeth taken out tomorrow. So it's...
Whoa!
Yeah, so that's the biggin. The biggin's happening tomorrow. So I don't think there's going to be a blog tomorrow, but I will get one up for you guys on Friday.
Well, what if I somehow wrote something out of nowhere?
I will get it up. If somebody else writes something. We got, Sam, do you know how many applications we've had since Christmas? 4. We have 4 new writers coming to pucksandpitchforks.com. We're a little backed up with the you got to take the plagiarism tests and all that. But
trust me, if Sam Wu can pass that plagiarism test on pucksandpitchforks.com, anybody can. You just look at Vinny Parisi's paper.
Yeah. There you go. But yeah, so we got all that coming up. And I just had one go up for Puck Pros.
Woo!
that one was a lot of fun. We talked about the 25 worst. I love award snubs. I'm a big award snub guy. So
Okay.
25 worst award snubs in the history of the league. Do you know who was in the top 5? I bet you can guess which one I put in the top 5.
Current players?
No, Devils. What's the worst award snub in the history of the Devils?
I think it's Marty Brodeur.
It's Marty Brodeur, 2003, Conn Smythe, robbery. We go to Puck Bros. You know what? I'll tweet this one out on the Pucks and Pitchforks Twitter account, just so you guys can easily get it. Check that one out. That one's a lot of fun to write. You'll probably yell at me about the order, and I don't care. But it was a lot of fun. I even put an SB up there, Sam, because that was funny.
I think honestly, Marty Brodeur should have won not only the Conn Smythe, but 2 or maybe 3 Vezinas. And
yeah,
there were years.
To be fair, he won a Vezina that he didn't deserve. That Luongo won. So there's a little bit here and there, but yeah, he definitely. There was definitely some years he deserved the Vezina when he didn't get it. There's years that he was legitimately an MVP candidate.
Yeah, 2007. I thought he should have won the Hart, but there was that huge debate back then. Well, that's why you had the Vezina Trophy. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
It's different. Like, people make the same excuse for the Cy Young Award, but it's different.
Yeah.
It's not like Brodeur was playing once every 5 nights. I think he took like 10 or 9 games up that year. So, like, wasn't the same argument.
Yep. All right. Well, go to pucksandpitchforks.com. Check out the articles. Nick, I'm signing off. You're signing off. Till next time, this is State of Fan Address. Let's go Devils.